Welcome to the Beyond Physio podcast, where we help you move, excel, and inspire others on your journey to your next level with knowledge and advice from experts and testimonials from our like-minded community. Johnnie, I'm so glad we got to chat, and I'm really glad that we're going to be able to work together, setting off our small group training going in January, and having a coach like you. When we got on the call and we went through a conversation, I just knew that you're going to be the right fit. And I think that was supported by our team members, Dr. Megan and Karen and Coach Brooke, also meeting you and saying that, yeah, I think this is the guy. Awesome. So I think you have unanimous support. We have a very picky crowd. So I want to now kind of share some stuff that you and I talked about.
Of course.
And particularly, let's go into your story because you have an amazing personal fitness journey yourself.
Thank you.
You faced death. And you came back from that, and your life has been transformed. And our whole business is about transformation. So when I heard your story, I was like, this guy really gets it. Yeah. And I really felt your passion when you led our class together.
Thank you.
And I really felt that you really kind of understood the underlying components to what it is to live a healthy lifestyle. Yes. So let's go into that.
Yeah, I was, at the time, I was a truck driver. And as you can imagine, fitness and the transportation industry, don't usually go hand in hand, right? It's looking a little better as time progresses.
Right.
So I had a heart attack, right? Roughly 5 years ago, I had a heart attack. And I was angry that I had the heart attack because I do all the things that I'm supposed to do. I eat right for the most part, right? I exercise. So I was angry, and when I was held captive in the hospital, I had to get a stent put in. It was like a big code red situation. And I was angry that it happened to me, and it really took cardiologists to tell me that I had 100% blockage, which they call it the widowmaker.
Yeah.
I should have died, but it was because of the lifestyle that I lived. It's a little different when you have a cardiologist tell you that the only reason you're alive right now is because of your lifestyle, because of your healthy lifestyle. So after that, I kind of had PTSD, to be honest with you. I knew that my life needed to take a turn. I knew I needed to make some changes. So I literally quit everything. I retired. I was fortunate enough to have a little nest egg, have my wife, and support. So I quit everything, and I went 100% fitness, got some degrees, got some certifications, and I've been doing this ever since.
I'm so glad you said that you were doing all the right things, Johnnie, because I think there are people out there who might be feeling the same frustration where maybe they do work out every day.
Genetics.
Maybe genetics. Yeah. Maybe they're very careful what they eat, and they're still not able to get the results they're looking for.
Yeah.
And in my experience, what I found is that it's often the people who are maybe either working out on their own and don't have any guidance, so they're not pushing themselves enough, or they're people who are maybe going to, they've been going to large group fitness for their whole life. And because either they're not getting all eyes on them, which can happen.
Absolutely.
And I enjoy large group fitness, by the way. It's awesome. Energy's awesome. Coaching's awesome. But if you don't really know what you're doing, you can sometimes get lost. And if you're not pushing yourself, even in that class, no one's really going to say anything per se. So I think people often equate, I work out every day, therefore I should look like this.
Right.
And because you and I both know that if you're not pushing the right intensity, if you're not eating the right things, oftentimes, aside from the hormonal stuff that can happen, particularly to women over the age of 40 or 50, you're not going to get the results you're looking for.
Right. Yeah. It's the nutrition part of it is a big deal of it. I've actually, when I meet new clients or new athletes, a very important question that I ask are the whys. Why are we here today? And I found that oftentimes it's what you just mentioned. They've tried it on their own, and they're just not seeing the results that they feel they should see. But then once we have a little conversation and we start talking about all the variables that are involved in a healthy lifestyle, nutrition and mental health is big. And I've found that in my experience that most people fail at this fitness stuff, right? And they fail it's because they don't realize all the variables involved with this health and wellness lifestyle. And the mental health, if you are not mentally healthy, then you may not see the results that you want, in fitness, right? We're talking about cortisol levels and how that affects us. And I've witnessed firsthand that if my relationships, my career, my kids, business, if I'm focusing on all those things on top of my fitness, then my life seems to go a lot better, and I see the results that I want to is because I've really dialed it in. And this is a lifestyle, Jerry.
Yeah.
This is a lifestyle. There is no quick fix. There's no get fit quick schemes. It's just having the knowledge, having somebody that can teach you the things that maybe you're lacking, trying to do it on your own. Yeah, so the mental aspect and definitely the nutrition play a huge role in it.
So let's go back to your personal journey there, Johnny. I'm glad you said that. You went through basically a downward spiral, it sounds like, for a while. How did you end up like pulling yourself out of that? Because I think there are a lot of people who, after something traumatic like that, where, you basically are facing, a life or death situation, how did you pull yourself out of that hole, so to speak, and continue to live on this journey of, getting to your next level?
Wow, that's a great question. I believe it's growing up in a military family. My dad was in the Army, so we traveled the world. I lived in a lot of different foreign countries where I didn't know anybody. I didn't speak the language. So being in that military family, although I wasn't in the military, I grew up with a dad who was a master fitness instructor. So I was taught at a very young age, and I'm super thankful for it. I can do anything, right? I just have to assess the situation and find ways to get to where I want to go. So family was a big thing, big support group, having mentors that, you can kind of rapid fire, random questions, and really just having a team, that can boost you up, right? I've noticed the people that you surround yourself with is huge when it comes to this lifestyle, because you're either going to have some that are going to be a deterrent or hinder your ability to reach the goals that you want to, or you're going to have people in your life that support the growth that you're looking for. And I was blessed that I have that team. I have those people in my life. I have people in my life that allowed me to take a step back from worrying about bills and money and kids, and and I was able to focus on what I want. And Jerry, this is the first time, and I'm an advocate for this. This is the first career that I'm in it because I want to be in it. All the other careers where, I need a career to make money. I have to provide for my family. So what is the most logical and what can I make the most money, right? So it's changed a little bit now. This will be my third career. So I don't have to be here. Mm-hmm. I don't have to do this. I want to do this because I'm passionate about it. And I think that having that passion for life itself, not really just the fitness industry, the fitness aspect or the health and wellness aspect, but just having love for yourself and the desire to make change in your life.
That's pretty powerful. I think that a lot of people get stuck in careers that they don't want to be in.
Yeah.
And I feel for the spouses at home, whether you're a mother or father, I know that for my wife, a lot of her day is wrapped around our kids.
Yes.
And even though I won in college, we're never parent. We don't stop parenting,
Yeah.
as you know. It's a lifelong thing, and which is I've come to realize. I had thought that since my daughter's now in college, we're kind of getting to that empty nest situation. But I realized that as she's going through her transitions into different phase of her life, that I think she needs us more coaching, I would say, than anything. But having said all that, coming back to the root of the matter, which is I think when we get distracted by the things that pull us away from what really matters, which is our personal health.
Yeah.
Because without that, we can't be the best parent that we can be. We can't be the best version of ourselves.
Yeah, and we're also leading by example. All three of my kids are in fitness, not because I forced them to, but it's because respect, number one, right, as a parent, and number two is they have seen firsthand the peaks and valleys of health and wellness, and they see the importance of it's okay to be in the valley as long as we know where the peak is and we're getting to the peak. So that was a big thing for me, especially now, is like you said, my kids are older. My kids are in their 20s. So I have more expensive problems, but they're finally at a point in life to where they are adults who have a little bit of life experience and can pass judgment on me. Right? They have enough life experience that they can tell, is my dad a go-getter? Is he a successful guy? And that's been big for me. I never want my kids to be able to think anything other than he's a go-getter and he chases success.
I love that. You're setting an example in fitness and also just in life.
Yes.
I think that the two go really going hand in hand. One thing you touched on before also, which was having the right people around you, Johnny. I think that's where sometimes maybe and I had, in my other life, I was a personal trainer as well. And I think there's a lot of power in having one-on-one personal training sessions. and you get very close to your people as you go through this process. But I think sometimes what can be even more helpful is when you do have a cohort, a small group of people that you can work out with, and you're keeping each other accountable just by showing up to those workouts. And I think that's where the value of having our next level small group training is coming in, where we can get the kind of personalized training that we want to deliver at a high level to our clients. At the same time, we can provide a very small group setting. We're looking at 4 to 5 people maximum per class.
Yeah.
And I think by having that team around us, as we're all striving to get to that level, keep people keeping us accountable, being there from when we are in our valleys, having that support like you did when you went through your dark moments, I think is really, really key.
Yeah, I as well. And as a matter of fact, I do both one-on-one group training, and I've realized that the one-on-one training is a personal, intimate experience between both parties. However, at some point I become coach, and it's a little easier for them to leave me hanging. Right now, I have some clients who they know as much as I do. It's just a matter of an accountability, right? A gym buddy or something like that. But oddly enough, I've experienced, in the group training that it's multifaceted. Number one, the team aspect of it. Some of us in our youth and our college days, we played sports. We had that competitive camaraderie with other athletes, right? So you knew that if you were sore, or if you were experiencing something, that maybe you're not the only one. Right, we have some people here so it's a team. We're doing this together.
Yeah,
and also they're a little less apt to cancel at the risk of coming in the next time and catching a lot of grief from their team.
Yeah.
Right, I'm here.
Yeah,
we are here. You are not here.
Yeah.
Right, that changes things.
It does.
Yeah, and I learned that in mixed martial arts, showing up to jiu-jitsu class. If you miss a couple of classes. And you walk into the door, everybody looks, and they all point, and they all glad you had a nice break. Welcome back. So there's not just the accountability from the coach, there's accountability from the team, and that kind of changes things a little bit. They're less apt to cancel, and knowing that you're not alone at this, knowing that you're not the only one that suffers, or maybe going up and down the stairs is wind gasses you a little bit. Knowing that you're not the only one, kind of makes everybody a little more relatable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. And I like the team approach, because I think there are many people who did play sports at one point. And sometimes going to the gym alone, or even being in a one-on-one situation with a trainer, it's not the same kind of vibe that you get from being in a group. And I think that's the power of having like the large group fitness classes, where you have all this energy, a lot of loud music, and whatnot. It really stirs up those memories and nostalgia from teams. I know I get that too when going to some classes. I think what I like about looking at a small group training approach is that you can get that in a smaller, intimate setting. But now, instead of having this generalized program that everyone's doing, you have something really super dialed into you. And we have a lot of people among our clients who are, I would say that we attract older athletes is a bigger thing, 40 to 60 or so.
Right.
Or former athletes. But these are people who really want to keep doing what they do for the rest of their lives.
Yes.
And as a result of doing that, unfortunately, we've acquired injuries over time because we push that envelope of performance. Sometimes because people don't understand technique, and they need to be coached on that. Other times because people do too much and don't get enough rest, so they need that accountability too. Mm-hmm. But what I have found is that when we look at how we can kind of rein all that in, this seems to be the kind of environment we can do that at a very high level.
Yeah, I agree. I've noticed, again, going back to the team aspect of it, I miss going out onto the field, onto the court, with my team. So when you become our age, it's that competitive component has been removed. So why not add it back, through that small group setting? And honestly, and I have this conversation with a lot of my clients, it becomes an intimate moment in settings like this amongst a group of people, because we're all going to watch you fail at some point.
Yeah.
Right. We're going to celebrate, the success, but we're also going to watch you fail. Right. So that's a very intimate moment between people. So having that small group mentality, number one, you're not just a number coming in, scanning your card.
Yeah.
Right. We're on a first name basis, not only with the coaches and the athletes, but within the athletes themselves. And just that alone creates the incentive to come in.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's interesting because I think a lot of people out there, they like we said before, where they try fitness and they kind of fail at it.
Yeah.
What do you think, Johnny, is another reason why people sort of fail at fitness?
I think with everything in life, if you want to be good at it, you have to prepare. So I think the mistake most people make is they just enter the gym, which is I know it's a double-edged sword, right? Because you often hear, just show up, right? Just show up and get some movement in. And I do believe that to a certain extent, but I also believe that if you jump in with 2 feet, then you're more likely to drown, right? But if you test the water, right, jump out there just with that 1 foot, do a little prep work before you begin, right? Find out what has prevented you from doing this all these years, so we're talking about barriers. Oftentimes people fail because of the barriers in their life and they didn't make the adjustments to be successful at the gym. Number one, right? Kids, right? What do I do with my kids? I have to find babysitters. I have to do this. Oh, I wasn't able to make it because of my kids or because of this or my job. So it's really important if you're going to jump into this and be serious about it. You have to prepare, right? You have to prepare, make sure that your barriers are taken care of, make sure you have a good support system at home. It is so helpful to have your significant other understand and support you. This way, she knows or he knows this is when he's going to the gym or she's going to. Let's not plan anything here, so you have to prepare mentally, number one. Number two, removing any barriers that may prevent you from making it to the gym. We have to get there first.
Yeah.
But we have to take care of all the things that are going to prevent us from getting there.
Yeah.
Once we can kind of get a plan, right? Once we get the plan, then everything starts to roll forward a little bit more, and the chances of you being successful has increased because you now have a plan instead of just coming in and doing what a lot of us have done through the years. I'm just going to go in, I'm just going to do some muscle groups together. No plan, no program, and I think that's where a lot of other people fail also is the winging it, right? So, and if we can circle back to the group fitness, the small group fitness thing it is very easy for you to go to a box gym, take your photos, check in online, you can fake it, right? Yeah.
You can walk right out.
Yeah, I've seen it. I have seen it. In a small group setting, that doesn't happen.
No.
Right? Because there is no faking it.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you, but I am so competitive that even if it's just a little session with my friend, I'm not going to let him outdo me. Right? So my effort has increased 100%. Based on the individuals that I surround myself with.
100%, yeah. And I think that's what I'm looking forward to most, just that, like you said, I love that competitive camaraderie.
Yeah.
Actually, as a matter of fact, about an hour ago, I was with a friend of mine working out, and I had run 10 miles yesterday preparing for City of Oaks next week.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I was tired, but I knew he was going to be here at 5:30, so I was like, oh, shoot, I got to get up. Got on. It was, it was harder than I wanted to work, to be honest, but I'm so glad I did it.
Yeah.
And it kind of reminds me of what you just said, where I'm going to push myself, even though I'm tired as hell.
Right.
Where this guy, I can't let him get past me, right? So I got to push as hard as he is, at least, to make sure that I am showing up the way that I think I need to for that session.
Yeah, it's going back to that support system, right? Even if it's unintentional, right? Just having another body. Even truthfully, for me, even when I go to box gyms, I think everybody's looking at me. I think everybody's counting my reps, right? So while I'm fatigued, right? The intensity level has increased. I think people are looking at me, so I can't stop, in the middle of the set. I have to make sure that I get the appropriate, because I think everybody's counting my reps. So if I come up short, then everybody's going to question, what I'm doing here in the gym.
Funny.
Yeah.
I never thought of it that way, but now that you say that, I probably think the same thing when I'm at the gym too. Like, oh, people are watching me, so I need to make sure I show up there too.
Yeah. Do you have a home gym?
I do have a home gym, but I actually go to a gym locally too, just to get some space.
Myself as well. Yeah. I have a home gym. I also have memberships at a bunch of gyms, and it's the same concept. While I'm at home, nobody's watching me, right? So, and this is where it comes to am I going to be successful at this or not? And that part, being able to watch yourself, right, and hold yourself accountable. If you can do that, then, the possibilities of that success increase.
Right.
Right. The mental aspect of it. You've heard, and it's been said in the fitness industry a lot, and I'll paraphrase, of course. Fitness is 90% in the kitchen, 10% in the gym. Right. And I get that to a certain extent, right? Yeah. When we talk about body composition,
sure,
change in body composition happens in the kitchen, right?
Yeah.
We can make you stronger, in the gym, but the kitchen is where the body composition changes. However, I think those numbers are inaccurate. I believe that the mental aspect of it is just as or more important, right? Because again, you have to get there.
Yeah.
Right. So when we talk about working out 5:30 in the morning is what you did this morning on a Sunday, right? So that's also a big part of it, right? So for me personally, after I've worked 12 hours, maybe I don't feel like working out. So I wouldn't work out at that hour. I would try to fit it in somewhere where it's a little more ideal, right? So let's say 2 in the afternoon. Let's say I have a break. So just that in itself, choosing when you're going to work out is a big deal, right? So if you're not a morning person, it's not ideal for you to work out in the morning. But as a successful man like yourself, right? You would want to get it done because you have all day to be successful,
right? Productive.
Yeah. So you don't want to. I can see why you would want to get that done first thing. Coming from a military family, most of my life I've done more by 8 a.m.
Yes.
The whole Army motto thing. I do more by 8 a.m. than most people do, until noon.
Yeah.
Right? So it's just about where are you most efficient?
Exactly.
Which time of the day are you most efficient? And I think just having that little bit of knowledge, I coach youth softball, and I know that our 9 a.m. games are awesome. Our 4 p.m. games, not so much.
Oh, that's
right?
Interesting. Yeah.
They've been up for a little while. They've been moving around. They're exhausted a little bit. The mental component is not really where I would like it to be, but in the morning, they're on.
That's really interesting.
Yeah,
it's awesome. Do you think that fitness is different for youth versus adults? And if so, like, what have you noticed as one of the biggest differences between the two age demographics?
Great question. I have this conversation a lot because I am involved in youth sports, and when I was a young man growing up, we'll take high school for example. It was almost taboo for anybody other than the football team to go into the weight room.
That's so funny. I grew up in that same era. It
Yeah.
It was basically football. It was basically all the boy sports.
That's it.
And it's funny, later on in my life, when I saw how many young women were getting injured.
Yes.
And I asked them what the strength program is. Oh, we have to wait for the football team. I was, are you serious? Yeah. Is it still going on? It hasn't really changed.
Yes. There is a high school. I won't mention the high school, but the baseball coach is the head strength and conditioning coach.
Oh.
Which, if he's got the experience and the education, that's awesome, right? You get that 2-in-1 special.
Sure.
But your baseball coach should not be your strength and conditioning coach, And I learned kind of the same thing that you just said, through the mixed martial arts environment. I've seen guys who are really good at what they do. They just lack the strength to win. Right? They have the skill. I've pulled many aside, and this is how I've retained them as clients is, man, you did really well. I just knew you had that one. I feel like your strength was the issue here. Here's my card. Let's work on that strength.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, and I'm almost certain that I can get you to where your strength will match your skill, and then you'll find a little bit more success in the competition.
That's a great sales strategy.
Yeah, it is.
Right in the moment, too.
Yeah, but it goes back to what you and I talked about before we got started is not all business is done during business hours. And if you truly enjoy what you do, which I do, so I enjoy sports. I enjoy spectating. I enjoy having conversations with athletes. And I think this is one of the things that separates me as a coach is that this is not a job to me. Mm-hmm. This is just a hobby that I ended up making it a profitable business, right? Yeah. So when I go to these ball games or these competitions, it's for marketing. It's for business. Yeah. But I get to be a spectator and I get to enjoy as a fan, right? But I'm also there for business. But when they see me there, often they remember me. They know what I look like. I stick out like a sore thumb a little bit, right? So that creates validity and credibility. I'm not just here to sell anything. I'm here. I'm in the people business, right? And I think that's one of the things that separates me is I'm not a salesman. Right, I'm not here to. I mean, of course, money's nice, and we all, it's a necessity.
Sure.
But if you situate yourself to where I already have money.
Yeah.
I have it, right? So the chase becomes a little different.
Yeah.
We still have to chase it, of course, but the why changes, right? The why is no longer to provide for my kids. My kids are grown now.
Yeah.
So now the why is about me.
Yeah.
Why am I here? Because I love this. This is what I want to do for a living.
Yeah.
And it changes everything.
That's amazing. You know, it's funny because what you just said about this being a lifestyle is definitely a core value for us, where all of our physios are involved in different communities. So, for example, Dr. Megan was a Division I gymnast and as a runner. So she's involved in Fleet Feet Durham. I'm involved in Fleet Feet Raleigh. Because I show up in the community, people now, it's like the know, like, and trust, right?
Yeah, that's it.
I'm running with them, so I'm not just like there for show.
Right.
I'm struggling too and going through the speed workouts and whatnot. They see that, oh my God, this guy is also doing it with me. So it's almost like when you share in that sort of pain and exercise, like quote unquote pain, you know, we're all like struggling together, right, at different levels. But I think it allows for that relatability to occur. And yes, I'm there for business too, but I'm also there to be a resource for our runners because we have so many runners come in with different injuries at different levels that if I am part of those communities, I know that I can be basically like a first responder in a way.
Absolutely.
To like saying, hey, listen, I saw how you're running. This is what I will work on. Take it or leave it.
Right.
You know, just FYI, this is what I do for a living. Right. So, you know, it is what it is. And by building that trust and those relationships in the community, we've helped to basically get us in a community like in Cary, where we didn't really know anyone coming in, but now we're actually becoming in the forefront of, oh, those are the guys you want to go to if you're a runner or hybrid athlete and need specialized care.
Yeah, building the rapport. That is a big thing for me as well. So much so to where when I have consultations, I express that. I might not be the guy for you, right? But I don't want you to leave, right? I can find somebody for you.
Yes.
The rapport is such an important factor because I'm going to watch you fail. It's a very intimate thing to watch somebody fail. So without that rapport, there may be some embarrassment, right? There may be some how they feel on the inside. So if you build that rapport with the athlete, the relatability, number one, and number two, I'm your biggest cheering section. You know what I mean? And I think the relatability, the rapport that you create with the athletes is a big thing because I want them to see me as an athlete as well. And I have photos and I show them. I have been all the way at the bottom. Mm-hmm. I had a heart attack. I went from 205 to 170, right? Couldn't work out, couldn't strength train. Shortly after that, I ended up having neck surgery. Couldn't train, right? So I'm looking at these photos of me and I'm like, oh my God, this is horrible. I look horrible, right? So I show my clients this. Look, I had a dad bod, right? But you don't have to keep it, right? So the lifestyle, that word, and I'm adamant about this. If this is truly a lifestyle, you should not be expected to be on the up and up the entire time, right? It is a series of peaks and valleys as long as we understand that. And we understand that while we're down in this valley, that it's temporary, right? We just have to keep moving and we're going to be back at the peak. So failure is inevitable, right? It's going to happen. It's how we deal with that failure. We can use it as a stepping stone and as a learning experience, or we can let it be the demise of that new lifestyle that we have.
Definitely.
You know, so the mental part of it, the rapport, the relationship. I think either you're just a coach, right, or you're Coach J, right, where they know you on a little bit more of a personal level. They know that you're not just a guy who is, and I parented this way as well. I wanted to make sure that my children knew that I wasn't just a dad with his chest up and his nose in the air, pointing his finger. I wanted to explain to them, I've been here. Yeah. I've been here. So when I'm telling you these things, look at me, look at the way I look, right? I'm not and forgive me, but I'm not the alligator shirt, you know. I'm a different kind of dad, right? And I wanted them to know these things that I'm telling you is firsthand experience. Yeah. Right. So when I show a lot of my clients the photos, I'm embarrassed. Right. And I ask, do you see the embarrassment on my face? Right. Imagine if I still look like this. Right. The embarrassment on my face right now, talking to you about it. Right. I don't even know if I would be able to be a coach if I had that mentality. Yeah. You know, so the mentality is big.
So, Johnnie, let's talk about training older athletes. And again, this is the age group that we see most of in our physio. And this is the age group I would say that we are targeting for our small group training because this is the group where people are determined. And at the same time, I know that being in this, unfortunately, I'm going to be 50 next year, which is crazy. Had to put that out
I'll
there.
be 49 next month, so I get it.
Oh, you're so cute. That's so cute. So, so, as you and I get to this age where, we're going to be hitting our 50s, I definitely train differently in the sense that I need to warm up. And I've talked about this in other episodes where I know I cannot lift heavy or run well when I don't. And so many of the guys and gals that we see come in, the first question I ask them if they're already living an active lifestyle is, tell me about your warm up. And, they kind of look around. They're like, well, I do some of these and some of these, and then I go. And I was like, and I have to slow them down and say, this is probably at least 30% of the reason why you're having these chronic issues. And so then I talk to them about what I go through as well, where like I have to do a certain kind of regimen before I do certain things because it just takes me that much longer to get ready. So what I'm looking forward to in our summer training with this age group is that we'll teach them how to warm up properly, first of all, and know that there's sort of a gradient that we have to sort of go up so that we can get to a good point in the workout itself, the session, so they're actually getting the most out of themselves without risking injury.
Yeah, it's an interesting topic. I currently have I believe he just turned 73.
God bless.
This year, and he just competed in a powerlifting meet.
No way. I love that.
Yeah, and it was very interesting. So when we talk about age, this has been the topic of conversation between him and I for the past 3 years. He's been with me for 3 years, and he is an avid triathlon athlete.
Yeah.
Right. And here's where the strength training comes in. Right. It's such an interesting deal where he was prescribed strength training by his doctor. So when you're 73, right, we're talking about muscle mass or the lack of. Right, so there's a lot of variables involved here. Number one, triathlete, right? So minimal muscle mass, minimal strength training. His doctor told him, you did great with the cardiovascular system. You're super healthy here, but you have minimal muscle mass. You're at the age now to where you're at risk, right, of falling. So when you first come to see me in our initial consultation, we had to set up SMART goals, realistic.
Yeah.
John, you're in your 70s, right? And due to his triathlon experience, he had minimal connection with the scapula, right? So shoulders rolled forward because they're cycling this way, right?
Right.
So for the first year, I had to explain to him why you can't do a pull-up, right? Once he understood that, I had to explain bone density. I forced him to go get a DEXA scan just to show him where you are compared to some of my younger athletes. So he came to me wanting to do cleans and snatches, right? So as a coach, right, I care about you. I want to push you, right? I want you to have progress, but I don't want you to be, because he's a competitor.
Yeah.
His mind doesn't know that he's in his 70s.
It's so funny.
Yeah. So when we talk about the warming up, I have him for 45 minutes, right? So some of my clients, based on genetics, where they are in their fitness, the dynamic warm-up in the beginning varies based on age, myself included, and John.
And me,
Yeah, I probably do more stretching these days and just working on flexibility, mobility, increasing range of motion than I do the strength training. I strength train, but I find myself, as I get older, doing a little bit more of the warming up and the stretching, than I actually do the strength training. Same thing with John, right? He's in the 70s, and he has seen me train with some of my younger clients, and he has questions. Why do I go through such a rigorous warm-up? Not rigorous meaning intense, but lengthy. Well, you're a lot older, John. We have to, and this is another awesome thing about being in this industry, that I get frustrated when I see these cookie cutter templates and save time and save. Stuff is so custom and so individual that each program is designed specifically for that person. Yeah. With their capabilities or inabilities, and of course age and bone density and all those things. Super important, especially with the age group.
Definitely. And I'm so glad you talked about strength, because we have a lot of guys and gals come in who are a lot of endurance, obviously runners and whatnot.
Right.
And they often think that, or look at running or strength training as, something they have to add in. Whereas I can tell you from the results we've seen in many of our ultra runners and marathoners and everyone else in between, triathletes, that when they have strength as a base, everything seems to fall into place. They are less injured. They perform at a much higher level, even higher than they expected. And as a result, and they also, obviously they put the strength on, so they're also keeping themselves protected during the season when they go through their different races.
Yeah.
But I wish that, and I'm hoping that through our smaller training, that we will attract those people as well, because I want them to have a class where they know that they're going to get what they need to do what they want out there.
That's it. Yeah, and the strength training, more specifically, core. Right, so I have been the victim of falling, off of when I was in my truck driving days. I've fallen off flatbeds, right, going back just like this, pulling on something. I have done it while I'm in good shape with muscle mass. I have also done it with the dad bod, if you will, and I did not get hurt with that muscle mass. Right, the muscle helps protect, during a fall. When I did not have the muscle mass and I had the dad bod, I got hurt. Right, so it's the core training for me allows better self-awareness, right? And I have I think he's 130-pound male who also just competed in this power meet that I was telling you about, and he pulled close to 300 pounds off the floor at 135.
That's impressive,
right? So how did that happen, right? Core strength, right? In order to lift a substantial amount of weight like that, whether it's a deadlift or a squat, the possibilities of everything kind of caving in as the weight goes up is big, right? So locking that core in and having that core strength keeps you in that position that's most advantageous for that lift is a game changer. Game changer. So just the core strength and strengthening all the functional muscles, right? So when we talk about functional training and strength training, is it sport specific? Right, so how you would train runners would be a little different than how I might train a fighter.
Yeah.
Strength training, both important on both sides. Yeah. However, some mixed martial artists will tell you that increased muscle mass, your ability, your skill in a negative way. Right? Now, we're not talking about strength. We're talking about muscle mass.
Right.
And I think that's a big thing when people out here, I call them civilians, when they first come into the fitness industry, is they don't understand the difference between a bodybuilder and an athlete, right? So when we talk about athletes, we're not necessarily talking about muscle mass, right? So in some sports, for runners, for example, I would imagine the more muscle you have, increases the weight, right? Slows you down, maybe a little bit more impact on the hips, knees, ankles, yeah?
I'm so glad you said that, Johnny, because that's a big fear that a lot of our more competitive runners have. So, I don't want to carry muscle mass.
Yeah.
It's like, you don't have to have muscle size necessarily to be strong.
Right.
And strength is relative.
Right, that's
but
it.
If we can build up your nervous system so that you can't handle heavier loads, even if you're lighter person,
right,
you're going to get the best of both worlds.
Yes.
Not only recovery, all the recovery hormones that get secreted, but you're also going to be strong for life.
Yes. Yeah. Even being as an older adult, you're going to fall.
Yeah.
Right. I think the difference is what happens when you fall.
Yeah.
Right. Either we're going to get back up, we're going to laugh about it, or we're going to have to call EMT.
Yeah.
Which life do you want to live?
I wanted to dive into just as far as like your process, because what I loved about your training session when you trained our group that day was that I felt like we were being educated during that session rather than just being motivated to get through the workout.
Right.
And I think that's a big differentiator that we all noticed about you. And that seems like to be a normal part of your session.
It's very important to me. And I always tell the story about when I was a young man getting ready to graduate high school. And I remember my parents, you got to go to college. You have to go to college. You have to go to college. But nobody told me what happens if I don't go to college. Right? That was big. That would have changed everything for me, right? Knowledge. So when I talk to a lot of my athletes, and this isn't a good business idea, I guess, but I tell them I don't have to be a long-time financial commitment. If you have the desire to learn, I'm going to teach you, right? So when people come in and we talk about what the exercise is while we're going over the exercise, it's not just about the movement that we talk about. We want to talk about why are we doing this movement, right? So when I set up a dynamic warm-up, I have a very specific dynamic warm-up that hits the kinetic chain, right? So this is why we're doing a hinge, right? This is why we're doing a squat. This is the muscles that we're looking for, having that mind body connection, right? That being self-aware of what's going on inside you. Because if I say, hey, we're going to do good mornings, but I don't tell you what muscles we're focusing on or what muscles to look for, you may not be doing them correctly and you're never going to know about it.
Exactly.
So it's very important here's the exercise. Here's how we do the exercise. Here's what muscles or connective tissue we're working with. This way, because I truly believe in this. So it's not just about my pocket. I mean, it is, right? But it's also about, I'm passionate about human beings and the life that they live long term. So if I can affect your life just by giving you a little bit of the informational part of it instead of just the instructional part of it, then I feel like I've done my part.
Definitely. And I think you nailed a couple of points there, which is great. And I think that what people will get from that small group training is just that. They'll get an educational experience.
Yes.
So instead of being cheered on and pushed to the workout, which you can get anywhere, this is where you can actually come out of a class smarter.
Absolutely.
And more knowledgeable about why these exercises are meaningful. And I'm hoping that will actually be a way for people who seek that high value service.
Absolutely.
To get that in a session where it's, wow, I'm not only am I feeling better, not only do I look better, not only am I getting stronger, more mobile, I'm also learning a lot every morning at 5:30 when I come in.
I've even had clients, so they'll start with me. We'll do 3 to 4 days a week. Years will go by. They now joined a box gym. So they still come see me. This is the extra effort, right? Which I love, right? They come and see me, and my friends are asking me questions, right? Strangers are coming up to me and asking me questions. Why? Right? Because it's very easy to go through the movements, just going through the motion. I'm supposed to be here to work out, so I'm just going to go through the motions and check that box and continue through the day. But if you remove that mindset and you really, do you listen to music when you train?
No.
Right. Great, right? Why do we not listen to music while we train, right? When you're running, maybe. I don't know. I never liked the music while I'm training, regardless of what I'm training, is because I want to be in tune.
I want to feel what I'm feeling.
Yes.
I'm the same way.
Yeah, I want to know if I'm feeling any discomfort anywhere.
Yeah.
Maybe I need to make some adjustments. And going back to the mental focus, I prefer not to work out in the evening because all day somebody inside of me is telling me, you're in great shape, you look great, you really don't have to work out today. All day, right? Maybe it's the kids needing a ride here, maybe it's the wife needing you to pick something up. All day there are several things preventing you from going to the gym. So if I wait all day, I have just racked up a pretty hefty amount of reasons why I should not go to the gym.
Exactly.
But I have this little motto that I say often, and I say it to my clients often. I have never regretted going to the gym. However, I have regretted not going to the gym.
I'm with you on that.
Yeah. So sometimes we just have to suck it up. Don't go through the motions.
Yeah.
Right? Don't just show up and just go through the motions. But this is where the mental part plays a huge role. It's I know that coming from a strict, structured military family, I was forced to be a go-getter, right? And I'm thankful for that. So sometimes we have to, as coaches, we have to explain in great detail sometimes the reprogramming that's necessary, right? When you go to a doctor's appointment and that doctor tells you, you have some stuff wrong with you. Here's prescription. Go pick this up from your pharmacy. And go join a gym. Get a strength coach. Get a trainer. Everybody runs to the pharmacist, right? Nobody runs to the trainer, right?
Yeah.
So we are part of that prescription.
John, I'm so glad you mentioned that because I'm going to go out on a soapbox here. But because I actually just wrote an email to all of our people in our email database. But the rant I was going on was that, I don't know if you knew this, but United Health Group, the CEO, Andrew Whitty, and I hope he's hearing, Andrew Whitty, made $23.1 million last year. Crazy. UHG, United Health Group, made $6.1 billion in profit.
Wow.
In quarter 4 this year.
Wow.
Over the last 5 years, the stock has gone up over 132%. And so I'm glad you brought these up because I think Big Pharma, and I'm going to say Big Healthcare, they're not for us. They are in the business. And again, I will say that, yes, it's important to have medical insurance, and there's value in getting treated at the hospital and whatnot when you need it, for sure. I don't want to put that sort of, I don't want to, what do you call it? I don't want to put that down.
Right.
But at the same time, especially Big Pharma, they are paid to keep us ill. And when there are other solutions, and we know this for a fact now in the research, that there are many ways to stay healthy without going that route. And there are many things that exercise can cure or manage much better than medicine for the long run. In fact, more and more of my physician friends are saying, I think you're doing the right things. I think you're doing much better by your patients than we are sometimes, because the stuff that we give people can make them very sick, even though it's there for taking care of certain symptoms.
Right.
But the side effects, as you and I both know. But not only that, but we know that if we can get access to being well financially,
right,
rather than being sick,
yeah,
it changes the entire game
Absolutely.
and the trajectory of the healthcare system. And I really wish that these quote-unquote insurance companies, because they're not really providing insurance in some ways, I wish that they would really kind of change that trajectory and reinvest into all the people who are paying them massive amounts of money. I mean, if you're making $6 billion in profit, my God, that's a lot of money that could go back into the people that you serve.
Yeah.
Why can't we then expand programs that allow for people to pay for fitness,
Right.
to pay for physical therapy? And it sucks because there are a lot of things that we do that insurance companies don't cover, because they say, oh, well, they're quote unquote experimental.
Right.
Well, I can tell you experimentally that we get much faster results than the traditional PT practice because we have our shockwave, because we have our dry needling and BFR. These things are not covered by insurance, but we know that they get the results that we need to, so that people can start building the foundation to get to their level of fitness they want to get to in life, get back to running, get back to golf, all these things. And if that money were reinvested from having to pay these expensive monthly premiums into paying for gym memberships, into paying for personal training, I think it would actually help, number one, people avoid chronic injuries.
Absolutely.
And they're not going to be afraid to seek help when they need to, because they have to, I have to pay for a copay or whatever it is. They'll have quicker access to things that will keep them on the right path versus things that might get them sick and put them on a downward spiral.
Yeah. That is such a big part of the lifestyle, the healthy lifestyle. I've always thought it's best to be proactive than reactive. So if I can do anything through this podcast, through my experience as a coach, if I can get to you before you have to become reactive, that would be most ideal, right? Because you're going to get to the point to where, or you may get to a point where you now have to have medication, right? But had you had the knowledge that could have prevented this, right? This is my biggest fear, Jerry, being on my deathbed, right? With all my family around me, and they can't even mourn me. They can't even mourn. Now, why can't they mourn me? Well, because they're angry, right? Why are they angry at me? Because I'm on my deathbed getting ready to die of something that I could have prevented. I could have prevented it. So when we talk about pharmacists, insurance, SAS here in Cary, you familiar with this?
Yeah.
So my wife works for SAS.
Oh.
And these shoes that I'm wearing right now were paid for by their health and wellness program.
Wow.
I've realized, and I'm thankful, and I think this is a positive move in a right direction. Advocate for this kind of stuff at the workplace, right? If you're spending $600 a month in health and wellness, let us give you a little bit of that money back, just to give you some financial comfort and knowing that, okay, you're doing the right thing physically, right? You're getting the exercise in. Let's not make it a financial problem, right? Fitness and a healthy lifestyle should not be a financial burden.
No.
Right? So when we talk about that, my dad is right now fighting cancer for the third time. And he does not want to take treatments. He does not want to do radiation. He does not want to do chemotherapy. He has the last 2 times, and it destroyed him. It destroyed his body. It destroyed a lot of stuff. So he's taking a more holistic approach this time, and he's happier, right? He's a lot of that stuff just tears the body up. I had a doctor tell me one time while I was with my dad, most of the time it's not the cancer that kills you. Most of the time it's the radiation and the chemicals and the chemo. That kind of hurts the body a little bit. So I have this thing where I've put this on my social media oftentimes. You either pay for fitness now or you pay for medication later, right? So people get caught up, well, I can't afford it. I can't afford it, right? Well, you can get rid of just a few meaningless things, right, which will account for the amount that is required to join a gym.
Yeah.
So it's again going back to the mentality, right? Where there's a will, there's a way. If the desire is there, right? So I want to just quickly, if we can talk about, I have a client who has Erb's palsy.
Oh,
are you familiar with this?
Course.
So he also just competed in this powerlifting meet.
Really?
Right? Pulling deadlifts,
Wow.
no muscle mass in one of his limbs, but he has the desire. And he's probably one of my most dedicated athletes and most disciplined. I have to hold him back oftentimes, right? Because just realistic goals, right? Having that desire to be healthy has the potential to change who you are in 20 or 30 years, right? So I found out after the heart attack, I am on medication, right? I am on medication that keeps the stent open. So that is not going to keep the stent open in itself.
Yeah.
It's not. I have to do my part, the eating differently now. I had a heart attack while eating clean. I don't eat fast food, Jerry.
Yeah.
I don't drink sodas. I don't do all that. And yet I had cholesterol and blockage issues. Yeah. So I had the stent put in, and had I just left it at that, I probably still wouldn't be here today, right? It takes the effort of you and the mentality to live.
Yeah.
Essentially. I'll be 49 next month. I go to my kids' extracurricular activities, right? Their games, their practice, but they also come to mine. And that's a big difference when people get to this age. They think, oh, I'm going to live vicariously through my children now. And that doesn't have to be the case, right? Even at the age that I am, with the medical situations that I've had, I'm still competing. I'm still a mixed martial arts practitioner.
I love it.
Because I have the desire to live a healthy life. And I just want to reiterate, I've been all the way at the bottom.
Yeah.
I've had the dad bod, not because I wanted to, but due to health reasons, I couldn't lift, couldn't really exercise. So I know what it takes to be all the way down at the bottom and have to climb your way back up. It's difficult.
Very difficult.
It's difficult, but again, the desire. What's the end game here? Where are you going to be in 40 years compared to where I'm going to be in 40 years? I plan to be competing in 40 years. I might not win, right? But the movement, you know.
It's funny in the triathlon world that the joke is that if you can just live and outlast people, you will win your age group.
Yeah,
which is so
I guess that's true, right?
Yeah. One last thing I want to touch on is just the transition from our physio clients into fitness, and even for people out there who might have been chronically injured. And we have a lot of people that I've come across where they're just afraid to go back in the gym because either they were hurt by themselves. Unfortunately, we have some clients who are hurt by the trainers who really, I think, put them through an intensity that wasn't appropriate for them. And I'll just be quite frank there. I've done that too in the past as a trainer, and I get it. And I think we feel sometimes compelled to put our clients through a hard workout to make them feel like paying for our services is worth it, which is a fallacy. But in doing so, regardless of the reason, they're afraid to go back in the gym. Yeah. And the other reason why I like the smugger training so much is that we're going to take a very careful approach, but a very customized approach to making sure that people who do come with certain injuries, when we sort of connect them with you, Johnny, and all of our coaches at our other locations, it'll be, hey, so-and-so has had this issue and this issue, so these are the things that would be safe for them as a start. And maybe later on we can, after they build some good fitness foundation, a strength foundation, we can push them into other areas. But I think this sort of partnership between fitness and physio is really critical in making sure that people stay safe on their journey, and that's what they're going to get from us too.
Absolutely. And it's exciting and interesting to have the one-stop shop in what you're doing here. Oftentimes I have clients who are coming from therapists and getting secondhand information. I would like to get it from the doctor. Yeah. Right? A release, some basic information on what's been done, their conclusion, their analysis of the athlete. And this is where intent really becomes important, right? And the individuality of programs. There has to be, more specifically in these small group training, is you have to understand the regression and the progression and the necessity for both. If you have a small group of 4 to 5 people, in my opinion, it's easier to have these small conversations to get their trust, number one, to communicate and articulate properly any issues that they have, but also from you, right? And that's how I situate my programs. All of my programs have a regressed version of it.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about all the way down to body weight.
Yeah.
Just body weight. So, and this is a taboo conversation that I have often because I have some clients where I hold them back a little bit, and I have to explain to them, hey, if you feel like I'm holding you back too much, please let me know. Just for you to understand that your safety and you not being injured is number one in my on my list. I've been to group classes as a spectator and as a participant, and I was shocked to see the assumption that we are all on the same fitness level, and we were not. Yet there were no regressed or progressed exercises. So that was super important to me because I don't want to have everybody doing the same exercise and one judging themselves based on what the others are doing, right? So having that rapport with the athletes is super important because you have to tell them, hey, you're not quite ready for this yet.
Yeah.
Let's start here and we'll progress, right? So there are some times where the opposite will happen, and I think this is where a lot of people steer in the wrong direction, is what you talked about. There's a lot of coaches are just, I guess, worried, maybe is an okay word, on, well, I worry that they're going to leave here and they're not going to feel like they got a good workout in. But if you have the appropriate conversations, and I tell all my clients, listen, for the first week or two, it's going to be a lot of, we're going to make sure that your balance is good, your stability, right, range of motion. We're going to make sure that all the joints are able to take a load before we even apply a load, right?
Exactly.
Then we'll get to some resistance bands. We'll increase the intensity a little bit. If you do it in a planned, structured way, you minimize injury, but you maximize the growth. And I'm not talking necessarily strength or muscular, just individual growth, right? They become a little bit more self-aware.
Exactly.
They feel a little more comfortable. Wow. And I don't believe in bro science. I believe in data, right? So I have an iPad where we test your range of motion, right? So on week 1, this is what your range of motion looked like. Right. Look where we are right now.
Exactly.
Right. Or you could barely do dumbbells. Now we're at barbells.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So big difference.
Yeah.
Having that conversation with them and explaining to them the big picture and not just on it. Okay, today we're doing this. We talk about blocks. For this block, this is what you can expect. And I feel like if you do it that way, when we talk about the age of the individual, any kind of disabilities, these are all taken care of in that conversation.
Exactly.
And when I go home after that consultation, I'm in the office.
Yeah.
And I don't claim to know everything, and this is one of the things that I love about myself, and I think this does separate me from a lot of other coaches, is that I love this stuff. So when you come in and you say, hey, I have this issue, let's look into it. Mm-hmm. Let's find out what that issue is. And that's another benefit of having everything in-house, is I get to talk directly to you.
Exactly.
Where you get to explain, hey, this is the guy's problem. This is kind of where he's lacking. Maybe this is a start. Here's a good start. So the collaborative effort is super beneficial for that individual. Yeah. Instead of him or her going on YouTube and listening to this bro science stuff.
Exactly. and there's certainly a time and place for YouTube, but I think you have to sift through the stuff that's a little exaggerated sometimes, or maybe even some misinformation or disinformation. But I love the synergy you and I are going to have, and actually all of our coaches at our other offices, where we get to dialogue about our clients.
Yeah.
And so, like, behind the scenes, when Mrs. Smith comes in with, she had meniscus surgery and she's got a rotator cuff issue, we could talk at length about, hey, this is the way we have to approach this, and here's why.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be, I think that our clients would get an amazing experience for that, because they'll be in 2 trusted hands, us and you. And us passing our clients over to our small group training and with you as coaching down here, Johnnie, I think this would be powerful, because then that trust will continue. But then they'll realize that anything that comes up, they can always come back to us.
Yes.
And obviously, we're going to push them back into the small group, because that's the long-term plan for them. Right. So I'm really excited about seeing how this is going to evolve.
Yeah, as well. I've seen this happen separately.
Yeah.
I've seen therapists come into a gym setting, and there's a relationship, a professional relationship between the two, but to bring them all together under one roof Man, that's a game changer.
Exactly.
And I feel like in order to be successful, you have to believe in what you're offering here. And I believe in what you're offering here. This is why I'm in 100%.
Well, likewise, and I think that's why you're the right coach for our team
that.
here. Yeah,
I appreciate that.
Cool. Thanks a lot, Johnny, for your time.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for tuning into today's episode. It really does mean a lot to us. And don't forget to like, share, subscribe, or comment if you got at least one or two helpful insights or takeaways to help you get to your next level.